Hey everybody, this is Don White and welcome to God's Money. I'm wearing my Australia shirt today. I love Australia. I've been down there several times. I remember back, 2004, 3, something like that. They invited me down to do 25 talks in 28 days in Australia. Just the most incredibly cool time. When I was down there, my good friend who invited me was a fellow by the name of Greg Owen. Hey Greg, I hope you're watching this because this is about you. He invited me up to the Gold Coast, which is just south of Brisbane on the east coast of Australia. And he was showing me these condominiums that he owned there. And he said, man, you need to buy one of these things. It's an incredible opportunity. The price is really pulled back. You really should consider doing one of these things. I said to him, Greg, why would I want to do that? Oh, Don, it's just a great time. And every time you come to Australia, you'll have a place to stay and it'll be great. You can rent it out. You can make income from it on a rental basis and so on. And of course, when things break, and so we'll take care of it for you and so on. And here's the conclusion I came to. You know what, Greg? I love Australia. I really do. I hate to tell you this, but from Florida, it's not right around the corner. That's the first problem. But even if it were right around the corner, I probably still wouldn't buy a second house. And the reason I wouldn't buy a second house is simply I don't think that it makes financial sense. And he said, well, what do you mean? I mean, it's got to make financial sense. I said, no, it doesn't. Here's the reason. Even if I could pay cash for it, which maybe I could, maybe I couldn't at that time, it doesn't really matter. But let's assume I could pay cash for this place. And let's say it was going to cost me $100,000 US to buy this particular place. I'd have to come up with that money, obviously, and that would be the least of my problems. The issue really would be, what do you do when things break? What do you do when you have taxes which are due and insurance that's due and all these other things that are due? Now, granted, you're going to have insurance, maybe some income that's coming in and so forth. For me, the whole idea of a second house just doesn't make any sense. By the time you actually sit down and figure out what it costs to own a second house, you could probably stay at the Four Seasons or the greatest hotel in the entire country for what it cost you for the little bit that you might use it. Most of us are working. We're working 50, maybe 51 weeks a year. That means that we might have 1-2 weeks that we're going to get to leave and go someplace. Even though I love Australia, it's hard to get to. It costs a lot of money to get there. And the truth is that it's not necessarily the place that I'm going to go every single time I want to go on vacation. Maybe I want to go to North Carolina. Maybe I want to go to Europe. Maybe I want to go to Africa. I don't know. The fact of the matter is that I want the freedom to be allowed to do what I want to do in these areas. And when you tie yourself down to a second home, that is potentially a problem. I suggest to my clients and my friends, don't do it. It's just not worth it. Now, for the sake of full disclosure, my wife and Grace and I have talked about second homes. And we've been married a long time. And the truth is we both have come to the conclusion it's not for us. And here's another little piece of advice, guys. Before you run out and buy one of these second homes, whether it's up in the mountains someplace or down here in Florida or wherever, make sure that both you and your spouse are 100% behind this. Men are notorious for spending the big dollars in a household. Women get accused of being the spenders, but for the most part, that's not the case. Most women do not spend a lot of money. I'll give you a case in point. How many women do you know that would go out and buy a $100,000 boat without telling their husband about it? Not many, probably none. But there are men that do it all the time. We have to be very, very careful about not overruling our spouse. And when it comes to a second home, I've seen it happen a lot where people will just go ahead and do something and then they'll worry about telling their wife about it later. Don't want to do that. If you want to buy a house in the Keys, or you want to buy a house in Australia, or you want to do some other thing similar to that, make sure that that's precisely what you should be doing and it fits within your overall plan for God's money. Not for your money, but for His money. And is that really something that Jesus would do? I don't know. Again, for full disclosure, I've never bought a vacation home. I don't intend to buy a vacation home, and I suggest that before you buy one, you really count the cost. Hey, join us on social media, godsmoney.com. At the end of this, you'll see a little blip there. Shows you exactly how to get in touch with us. See you. Remember, it's not your money, it's God's money.